Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time this morning. My name's Allison. I'm the Director of Mobile Advocacy and Empowerment for Domestic Violence Services of Southwestern Pennsylvania, or DVSSP for short. That's a little easier to remember. Very excited to talk to you today a little bit about domestic violence and hopefully a lot about the services that we have to offer. But before I get into services, I kind of wanted to see what you guys already know about domestic violence and spotting it in the clients that you work with. So if I asked you, what is domestic violence, what comes to mind? What would you say?
Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Emotional, physical, limiting people from anything to do, hurting people, trauma bonds.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? I can help simplify. So here's the definition that I usually give out when I'm doing speaking presentations or even doing my classes with clients, just so it makes it easier to understand. But domestic violence is when an intimate partner or family member uses power and control over you. And they achieve that power and control, and you kind of name some of this, but they achieve that power and control through 5 different types of abuse. The most common that we hear about is physical abuse, but there's also emotional abuse, sexual abuse, financial abuse, and digital abuse, which is basically when an abusive partner uses technology to control their partner. So for the clients that we work with, they might be experiencing just one of these types, or they might be experiencing all 5 or some combination of. But we all classify them as survivors of domestic violence, and they are all eligible for our services. And 2, if you're working with clients that you are spotting some of these things that, didn't necessarily jump into your head as domestic violence, but you're hearing some things that aren't financially healthy. You're in an appointment with them and their phone doesn't stop ringing, or the text messages keep going off, and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's just my partner." That might, lift a red flag in your mind to say, maybe I want to bring up DVSSP at some point. Any questions on that, on the different types, what that looks like? All right, then I'll go into what I'm really excited to talk about, which are our services, which hopefully will not only be helpful to your clients, but also, I always say, that hopefully it makes your jobs easier in whatever role that you're in, being able to connect a survivor with our services. So first of all, I'd just like to say that all of our services are completely free, completely confidential. So clients do not need to worry about having insurance. There are no co-pays. If we provide some sort of financial assistance, there's no paying us back. And so, free and confidential, please remember that. Also as well, our services are for both men and women. That's a really common misconception that our services are just for women, but they are for men as well. There are also services that we have that are also eligible to teens as well as kids and youth. And I'll go into a little bit more detail about which of those services I'm talking about. But to start off with, I want to talk about our prevention outreach team. Kyle is part of outreach, and that's kind of what brings us to you today. We are willing to speak to anybody. Again, completely for free. Anyone willing to listen and learn about domestic violence, we will be there, because there's just a lot of misconceptions. And you might find this surprising, but even when we're at events and we have like a table set up with our lovely giveaways, people tend to shy away from the domestic violence people. It's like, oh, can't talk to them. If I talk to them, they'll think I have the domestic violence. It's okay. You can come talk to us. So, we love it when people invite us to come out and speak, and we will do so. And we will gear the topic of domestic violence around that particular group. We also do trainings for fellow professionals. And so, again, we will gear that training. Obviously, it's all about domestic violence, but we'll kind of shape it in a way of like how you might see it with your clients. So for example, we do a lot of trainings to healthcare professionals. So we talk a lot about what they might see in a patient, obviously what limited time they might have talking to, a patient in the ER, or, in a doctor's appointment. So we give them tips on how to have those conversations. I know several of you mentioned being involved in housing. We've geared, conversations around like what you might see during a house visit, what might raise red flags, what you can do to support them, as well as obviously how important having, safe housing is to a survivor.
My name's Kyle. I'm the Director of Community Outreach for DVSSP. We are in the 3 counties of Washington, Greene, and Fayette. And you'll see my section a little bit more out in the public, where a lot of tabling events, giving back to a lot of the community events. Like Allison was saying, people are afraid to come up to us. We're a big purple tablecloth, and the first word you see is domestic violence. We understand that. But a lot of the stuff that we do is empowering those people to know that, oh, this is a free little giveaway, but secretly on there's a phone number or a website you can call. And we have stuff over there that you guys can go get at the end of the session, all of our flyers, all of our information. But you'll see on our bracelets, for example, it's embroidered into the bracelet with a phone number. You can wear it inside out. We tell people things like that. Same things Allison's talking about, though. When we present, we're at all the commissions. We're at all the chamber meetings. We're participating in the community because we want people to understand that we are in Fayette County. That's a misconception that we're not in Fayette County. We originated in Washington County, but we are in Fayette County, and it's a ever-growing population here. So just know that we are there for you. So if you see us out at an event, say, hey, don't be afraid of us. It's kind of, we're there for you too. We're a part of your county.
And then the other side of the prevention outreach is that prevention side. I love that team. They are out there trying to put the rest of us out of a job, and we're totally okay with it. We're like, yes, go make it happen. Because we believe as an agency that domestic violence is actually 100% preventable. And they're out doing that. So it starts with our school programs. They go to grades K through 5 with their Connected and Respected program. Now, those kids do not realize that, Mr. Alex and Miss Alexandra are from the Domestic Violence Agency. What they're there, and they're not even talking about domestic violence. They're not talking about our agency. What Connected and Respected is social emotional learning. And so our team actually went and looked at interviews from those individuals who went through like a batter's intervention program to see what skills they felt they were lacking, which led to them acting out and being abusive in their relationships. And so they took those answers, which were things like not knowing how to deal with big feelings, or not knowing how to communicate, or having no conflict resolution skills, and found activities, stories that teach those skills to kids. And so that's what they're doing with the K through 5 group. Then once they get up to 8th grade, they do a program called Safe Dates. So now they are starting to have that discussion of what do healthy dating relationships look like, what healthy friendships look like. So they're still kind of teaching some of the social emotional skills of like how to communicate, how to be a good friend, how to help a friend. But now they're starting to talk about dating relationships and what that might look like and what they're looking for. Then when we get into high school, now we have our Bring Love 365. Now they are talking about dating violence. They are talking about the warning signs, and they are
What's
talking.
Not okay. Yeah.
And they are introducing our services to them because 14 and older, they can sign for their own services and get free confidential services just like any adult can. And again, I'll go into those services in a little bit more detail later. I
think one of the coolest things about that program is I've got to sit in and, because that's my department too, although I couldn't do what they do on their side. They're mind-blowing. But they have the elephant in the room cards. And that's one of my favorite things that they do, is that they just give a white card out to the students at the beginning of the sessions each week, and those kids can just draw pictures or whatever they want on them, and they turn them in at the end of the thing. But they can write questions down. They can write a phone number on there, and those questions come back. They track them. They put them in a system, and Harrisburg tracks them. But they call these students with the questions that they have. And if we don't call them, someone else from Harrisburg or from PCADV is calling them and goes over So they're preventing the questions before it's too late. And so I've seen these cards come in, and some of them are just drawings of people and clouds and stuff, but then some of them are like, wow, a 15-year-old just asked that question, and then they take care of it, and the next thing you know, they're helping somebody. So it's a way for those kids to anonymously put in that question or concern or thought. And some of them are not about them, like my mom and dad are doing this, or my uncle or my aunt. So it's very interesting, and that's probably one of the coolest things that I've seen that they do with this program.
And every program that we have in the school is evidence-based. It's not something that we particularly put together. These were programs that were tried and true that we're now placing in our schools in our 3 counties. They also do after-school programs. We have coaching boys into men and coaching girls beyond the game. Athletes being targeted because they tend to be well-liked, well-known, popular in their schools. So the idea, if we can talk to them about being good leaders, healthy communication, how to be a role model, that their fellow students will, take notice and kind of follow suit.
And we empower them through their coaches, which is nice. So we teach the coach, they're teaching the coach how to empower his or her athletes and work the progress through with that coach and those athletes. So like they get to see the coach run these sessions with the athletes, and then our prevention team and our outreach team and our other staff will go to a volleyball game when they have a purple out supporting us, and we'll go and support the athletes as well. But we have cheerleaders, we have football players, we have a volleyball team, we have someone from multiple school districts that do that, and it's also a very interesting program that they run.
And I mean, their dedication to Kyle was saying about going to the games, but they also go to school board meetings. They also go to other events that the kids are participating in, all about building stronger connections with the youth in our 3 counties and letting them know that we are there for them and that we're trying to create a healthier environment for them, and hopefully that they feel like there are other safe adults that they can go to if they need help.
And they always say hi to us at events. They always come
Yes.
up. We know Mr. Alex in the purple shirt. Like they always know. We're like, yeah, Alex.
Yeah, they're not afraid to come up to us.
No, they know us. Mom, this is the people that speak to our school. So they're very personable.
Yeah. So any questions about like the community stuff that we do, the prevention stuff we do, before I jump into the services for survivors?
And with outreach, we're not just at the table events. We have, I have a staff of 3. One is our coordinator of special events. So you'll see that we do a lot of things. Like right now, we have a winter meat raffle basket or ticket sale going on, and we have bingos, and then we do something in each of our counties. So here we have a bowling event. We have a walk that we do. We have our big annual gala. We have a bingo event. We have a trivia night. So we do something in each county. Then I have my coordinator of volunteers. So anyone that wants to get involved with volunteering, we have volunteers from all ages, all counties. We have untrained and trained volunteers, and I'm not going to go into all that because it's boring. But if you have questions about that, one of the pamphlets over there is about getting involved with volunteer opportunities. You call us, and Shalina or myself can go over exactly how you can get involved. We have college students, we have internships, we have all kinds of different things like that. And then we also have our coordinator of our donations, which I think she does the most work out of anyone I know. Everything Allison was saying is free, and some of the things we'll get into here you'll understand a little bit more, but Kelly works with thousands and thousands and thousands of people behind the scenes to get stuff donated, coordinated for us to give to our clients for free. And again, we'll go over some more details, but she is constantly on the go, running around to all the different areas, all of our counties, getting stuff, picking stuff up, delivering stuff. She's a godsend when it comes to that. So those are the 3 departments that run under outreach besides just the going out in the community, which is more or less my section.
Any questions on any of that?
I just have like 2. So what do you see like the ratio on the men with the domestic violence?
In terms of receiving services, hard to say. I mean, I would say at this point, we do see more women than men. I think that's for a couple of reasons. It's not because of who's actually experiencing domestic violence. We know from the CDC those numbers are actually quite close. So for women, it's 1 in 3 are experiencing domestic violence. For men, it's 1 in 4. And unfortunately for young people, and we don't separate boys and girls, it's 1 and 2. So it's not so much who's experiencing it, but I think it's the stigma around receiving help. I mean, I think men in general, whether it's domestic violence, mental health, are reaching out less. I also think, and that's why I made sure it was one of the first things I said, there's a lot of people that do not realize that our services are for men as well. I did a presentation not too long ago at a recovery place, and I literally just got out my introduction, and one of the men in the room raised his hands, and he was basically like, I have a bone to pick with you. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to earn my pay today. But his big thing was he had been through a domestic violence situation, and no one
Believed him?
believed him. No one offered help. And why don't we have services for men? I'm like, but we do. And then he was like, I didn't know. And he was like, the police didn't tell me. Like, the judges didn't. Like, no one told me. So trying to get the message out there and make sure that everyone knows and can tell their male clients, I think is like a big part of it. But for my part, because I lead the mobile advocacy and empowerment team. I've had men sign up for empowerment sessions. We have men in our safe houses. And certainly I'd say probably the closest we have a lot of men file protection from abuse orders. But we are starting to see it grow. The more we get the word out, the more we can kind of make those connections. Because even for some of my clients, they'll say, oh, my friend told me about you. Oh, my mom had a I don't know if guys are necessarily, going to the football game together saying, hey, I got some really great services from the domestic violence people if you need it. Right?
Yeah.
So we're not getting those referrals because it's just still not comfortable to talk about yet.
Yeah.
But
And that's one of the things, too, is a lot of people think domestic violence is man-wife. It can be parents and siblings. It can be sisters to parents. Your sister or brother could be doing one of those forms of abuse towards your elderly parent. It can be, any gender, any sexual orientation, any religion. So there's a lot of stigma behind, and this comes back to us being in the community. You know how many elderly men come up and always make a joke to us while their wife's getting candy and something from our table. It's like, I beat her, but quietly, they think it's funny sometimes. And the wife's like, oh, if you only knew, he just jokes around. But that there is a lot of stigma behind it. It's always man, female. And I think more percentage of it's not.
Yeah.
So, a lot of men are like afraid to come forward or don't know the services because they don't think that, oh, I'm not being abused. That's just my wife being my wife or my cousin being my cousin towards me.
That's a really good point, because I think that's another thing that happens, going back to those different types and people not recognizing. If the person's not being physical, if their wife, their girlfriend, their boyfriend isn't being physical, it's like, well, it's not domestic violence. But meanwhile, their partner could be verbally and emotionally and
showing
financially.
up at their work.
Yeah.
Withholding their check. My dad and mom were very good at, my mom would always say, your dad doesn't get his MAC card because he'll spend it. So she held his card in a lockbox, and that's how I grew up, and that was the old school thinking. But that's not okay, and so people have to understand that too, that times have changed a little bit.
Yeah, and weaponizing gender too. Like, if you were a man, you would be doing X, Y, and Z, and yeah, that's not okay. But a lot of people wouldn't necessarily say, oh, that's domestic violence, because obviously he's not going to be sent to the hospital over that. But that is domestic violence, and no one deserves to be talked to and treated that way in their relationships.
Everyone deserves respect. Isn't that like one of our things, Yeah.
I know you didn't mention that you service Westmoreland County. Can you service folks from there?
So it depends on the service, and it also can depend on the agency. But for us, we're willing to help anyone. So, but it depends on the service. So, like, let's say they want to file a protection from abuse order. We can't help them with that. They have to file where they live. But say they knew their community super well, and they were really nervous about reaching out for counseling or therapy or anything like that because they're involved in their community and they know people that work there and they're like, I can't get services there. We do so much virtually. Like if they wanted to get therapy and empowerment through us, like they absolutely could.
And we do have clients that'll come and stay in some of our facilities because it's out of their county where they may have had a PFA against someone. We work in partnership with Blackburn's. That's like our sister facility in Westmoreland. There are things that we can do that they can't, and they're vice versa in the area. So we are always constantly communicating with anyone. We'll just call them up and say, hey. They'll call us and say, we have a young lady that needs to get to a facility. Do you have any openings? And we'll go pick up, meet somewhere, transport. Yeah, and housing and things like that.
Yeah, our housing team also works pretty closely. You guys might even know Myra and Heather, housing people. So, yeah, it just really depends on the service. But
Myra. Everyone knows Myra.
Yeah.
That's great.
But most things, we're willing to help with.
That's good to know, because I know sometimes, like, our Blackburn Center is, like, overwhelmed. So, like, they want them to come to shelter, but they don't know bed, but
they won't help with like the family thing you guys are talking about. That's a big one we see is family.
They're not able to
domestic
serve.
violence.
They're only able to serve romantically. Romantically based abuse?
Yeah, like
Is that what
partners.
they- Yeah.
That is true. Some different domestic violence providers, especially when it comes to safe houses, because there's only so many beds, may have policies like that. We do not specifically have policies like that, and certainly, again, with our other services, there's usually enough of us to go around to help. So.
that's great to know.
Yeah, so you mentioned a sister agency like with Blackburn. Are you guys like under like a statewide or not so would you have resources for the different counties who we could go to?
Yeah, so every domestic violence agency in Pennsylvania falls under the Pennsylvania Coalition Against Domestic Violence, PCADV. PCADV.
So if they're followed by the county and get grants and funding, then they would be under PCADV.
And the cool thing about Pennsylvania is each county does have some sort of domestic violence facility. However, and even though we all fall under PCADV and there are certain guidelines we have to meet, depending on funding, depending on the area that they're serving, the services may look different.
Yes.
So you may hear me talk about, certain things and go, oh, great, like I hope they have that here, and they just may not have the staff or budget to do it. Or, a really great example for us is you may hear things that Allegheny County has that, my gosh, I would love if we had it, but we don't because we don't have quite the same budget that they do. So it does vary a bit in what each agency can offer.
But we always recommend reaching out to your county agency. If you have a loved one who lives in Harrisburg area, reach out to their county, and if they can't, if you contact us, we're going to find someone that, we'll be able to get you those services too.
And sometimes it's like a joint effort. I have a client right now that was living in Allegheny County, and that's where the abuse happened. She has since moved to Washington, but her legal stuff is all happening in Allegheny, so she's getting support from those agencies when it comes to like her hearings and legal guidance and that kind of stuff. But she's getting empowerment and therapy through us. Housing, when she's ready for that. Currently now she's staying with friends or staying with family. So we can do like joint efforts as well.
Yeah, it can follow the client.
Great questions. Anything else? I feel like we kind of already started to jump into some of the stuff I was going to talk about. So,
Great.
So what do we have to offer for your survivors? I'll start with my team. So as I said, I do mobile advocacy and empowerment. All that means is the goal of my team is to make sure that every survivor out in our community has access to the same services and same resources as a residential client staying in our safe house. Because for the longest time, there was this thing like, oh, they won't help you unless you're staying with them. Not true. There is nothing that I can't do for one of my clients that is out in the community than the Safe House Advocates can do for one of our residential clients. So what that looks like is we start with what we call empowerment sessions. And all that is a combination of domestic violence education, safety planning, and then connecting them with resources, basically within our agency and without. And we just start working from there. Once we work with them for a little bit and the situation has stabilized somewhat, we'll get them in with therapy. They would have already probably been connected with housing if they needed that. We already would have been working on financially assisting them maybe in different ways, as well as, again, going back to that safety planning, like just a little unknown thing. When people think of safety planning, yeah, some of it's like, hey, let's talk about changing up your routine, or are you interested in a protection from abuse order? But other things we can do are, would you like a security system for your home? We can pay for that. Would you like a jewelry device that acts as a panic button? Yeah. We can give them those for free. Are you interested in the address confidentiality program? I can get you paperwork for that. Yeah. So that's all the kind of stuff that...
behind the scenes stuff that people don't realize we have. I didn't even realize when I first started working here until I met Allison and them. I was like, what? That's awesome. Yeah. And people utilize it. Trust us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And another thing my team does is we go out to other agencies and provide services to clients at those agencies. So I go into halfway houses, I go into jails, three-quarter houses, and we basically, depending on what staffing is looking like for us and how much we're able to give, sometimes that's ongoing classes, sometimes that's a 6-week class, sometimes it's just a one-off presentation, but we go in, make sure the clients there have a little bit of domestic violence education, know about our services, and start connecting them while they're working on their recovery, while they're incarcerated, start working with them on their domestic violence issues. From there, I said a lot of our clients, once they're kind of wrapping up their empowerment, a lot of them do want to move on to therapy, which is great. I say that's really the key to everything. Like, we can put you in new housing, we can get you a security system, but if clients can't heal from what has happened, there's a good chance they will repeat that pattern of an abusive relationship. So getting them connected with therapy is really important to us. Again, it's free, so they don't have to worry about co-pays or what's going on with their insurance, or they may have insurance. I have clients that are working with us while they're still in their relationship, which is fine. They may not be ready to leave yet. We meet them where they're at, but obviously it would be really dangerous if there was like a bill from domestic violence services for therapy coming to their house. So they don't have to worry about that. And we do sessions for my team for empowerment. Most of the sessions are done virtually or over the phone. Again, I can do stuff in person. Our therapists pretty much do a majority of their stuff over the phone and virtually. It's really hard for them to do stuff in person just because there's only 2 of them serving 3 counties, and the demand is great. So we do try to do virtual.
And staff, they're our therapists too. We get access to them, and they're great. Helping to breathe and relax. We do some little breathing sessions at all of our meetings, and it's just nice. But they're in our 3 counties, like Allison was saying. They're in the actual safe houses. They have offices. They will travel to our facilities. They will meet with the clients. They will do over the phone. They will do anywhere you need to. They'll come to your level, and they're 2 very amazing people.
They also run an online support group, again, making therapy accessible as well as for clients to connect with other survivors. And again, they don't have to worry about transportation. They don't have to worry about childcare. As long as they can safely connect, they can start joining that online support group. We also have our legal advocacy programs. We have an office in each of our counties, either in or near the courthouse, where they help men and women file for protection from abuse orders. They will guide them through that entire process. They'll make sure they get a referral over to legal aid, so they have free representation. They'll obviously talk to them again about our services and connect them with other departments. And they will accompany them to those hearings, be there on hearing day, check in on them. And they also help connect clients with security devices. So we actually, when I'm working with clients, usually what I do is I'm ordering stuff off of Amazon, having it delivered to them. But we also, although we're starting to run out, but we set up that each of our legal advocates' office has Ring cameras and the jewelry devices on site. So the same day they filed a PFA, they could be walking out with a safety device if needed. We also have our housing case managers. They are working with clients in the community as well as in our safe houses to get them safe, affordable housing. Sometimes that looks like doing the coordinated assessment. Sometimes that looks like just going to see apartments with them, if that's like the first time they've ever done that. Sometimes it's helping them with funding. We do have relocation funding. That funding is the funding that covers our security systems for clients, but it also covers things like first month's rent and deposit, moving expenses, things like that.
Yeah, and with the housing, Myra and Heather and Lisa, who runs that section, they do a lot, and they've informed me and educated me on the fact that like the percentage breakdown, like they don't just say, okay, we got you this apartment, go, here's your bills. They pay a certain amount and it breaks down till after a year, then that client or person's on their own. So they help them find jobs, they help them with resumes, they help them manage it. But is it the first 3 months is 100% covered? It depends on the
it
situation.
varies, and that's specific if they get into our housing program, which some clients do. Some clients don't want a program. They don't want a housing case manager coming to visit them once a month for a year.
Yeah.
So that's where we use the relocation funds, where we would just do like first month's rent and deposit, make sure they have what they need to kind of get started again. And if they feel confident to go from there, they wouldn't necessarily do like the full program that Kyle was talking about.
We have different options
Yeah.
for them to work with. Yeah.
We also, at times, have something called flex funding, which is my favorite thing ever. I wish we had it all the time, but it comes and goes. But flex funding gives the ability for our advocates, most specifically my team and the housing team, to assist clients with anything that we deem increases their independence and or safety. And we can get pretty creative, but with the purpose, we do believe that the things that we can help with that aren't normally covered by grants, it's great that we can do, first month's rent and deposit and give you a security system. What if your car's broke down and that's how you get to your job to pay for said apartment? I don't usually have money for that unless I have flex funds, or they need steel-toed boots for a job that they just got and they can't start until they have those boots. Mm-hmm. We can use flex funding for that. I had a client that had a little boy that had to drag her little boy and laundry to the laundromat on a regular basis. Wasn't not convenient at all, but on top of that, wasn't safe either.
Dangerous, yeah.
Was able to buy her a washer and dryer for her apartment, so she wouldn't have to do that anymore. So again, I can't do those things all the time because when flex money comes in, it goes out pretty quickly because the needs are great, but that is, sometimes we're able to help with additional things beyond some of those initial expenses a client might have.
And that also is a little bit of where our department comes in, because we have a lot of like wish list Wednesdays and Amazon wish lists, and we have a lot of donors and charity events that Kelly, the lady I was talking about earlier, works with churches and things. So we've had people from our team or housing Myra, hey, I have a lady that I'm working with. She really needs a microwave. Do you have any? Let us go into our little hall of fun here and find something, or we'll, it may not be brand new, but chances are it is. We have clients that move out of our safe houses with our housing department that they came in with the clothes in their bag. And so Kelly gets a wish list from them of 20 items they need. And it's not like a Gucci bag or, it's usually plates and towels. Bedding. And our housing department gets them beds, comes to us. Kelly delivers it. Here's your brand new sheets. Here's your brand new utility or utensils, things like that. it's all an inner working, everyone just talks to each other and works with each other to help that.
And yeah, any of our teams, if the clients are struggling with if they're struggling with food, we go to Kelly, we go to where we store those things, and we start pulling food for them, as well as giving them information for local food banks, things like that. They need personal care items, same thing. I always tell clients, ask me. The worst that happens is I say, sorry, we don't have that. We can't find it.
We get excited when people ask us because we have 3,000 toothbrushes that we need out of our office. And so, hey, you need a toothbrush for 7? Here you go.
All of my clients are now well aware that you are supposed to change a toothbrush every 3 months because I literally tell them,
here's a new one.
Yeah, you need a new one.
Because we have amazing people that donate, and we never say no. Even if it's something that we can't use, we find someone that can use it. We have connections with like St. Vincent's and Goodwill. Pajamas at Christmas time, how many pajamas we get. But we don't say no, because then March, April, May rolls around and we need pajamas. We have them, or we'll reach out to the local schools that have pajama drives and things like that and donate back. So we don't hardly ever say no, but we've got more shampoo than you can ever imagine. But the people are amazing. So, Kelly comes to find out that ethnic hair care is hard to come by, and it was in a high demand for our safe houses. She puts one request out there. We have a church bringing $1,000, $2,000 worth of hair care products, and we're like, what are we going to do with all it? It went so fast, and so now we know it was a learning process for us. Now we know not just Suave shampoo is needed, but this ethnic hair care as well. So,
and I love having that stuff because I take stuff with me to class because for a variety of reasons. One, at the halfway houses, a lot of those clients are starting over again as well. They don't necessarily have a place to go back to once they kind of complete the recovery program. Also, too, they have to take my class at the halfway houses. That's not my role. It's the halfway houses role. So, that's not exactly exciting when you walk in and you're like, I have to take a domestic violence class. So to keep things light at the end, they get to take a freebie at the end. And I'm always encouraging them like, hey, eventually you're going to be leaving here and this stuff is expensive. Like, please I encourage you, please get stocked up. But I love that, we have more than enough stuff for our safe house clients in the community, and clients for my classes to be able to share this stuff because it's expensive. And we're willing to share it. Now, the idea of all these programs I just talked about is to hopefully help a person before it gets so bad that they're literally homeless due to domestic violence. Because whether it's the person ending up on the streets or ending up in a shelter or safe house, that is traumatic. Even in as much as different safe houses and shelter organizations try, it's still traumatic. So if those teams can prevent that from happening, help a person from their domestic violence situation into their own place, or staying with friends and family into their own place, or from the abusive partner back with, whatever that looks like, that's great. But there are still those cases where it just doesn't work out that way. Things get too dangerous, things go awry too quickly, and they need a safe place to stay. We do still have 2 emergency safe houses that will take men, women, and children in, and teens as well, which is somewhat unusual because there are some shelters that have rules for teen boys. If they're 14 and older, they will not take them. That is not true for us. We've also, these are rare circumstances, but teens that are emancipated, or we've even had a few teens that were 18 but still in high school, but stuff was bad at home, that have come and stayed at our safe house. So that is welcome to them as well. And where we kind of lack in terms of like my team and what we can offer the community, the safe house has youth advocates to work with the kids when they come into shelter. So they're spending one-on-one time with the kids. It's not necessarily like official, it's not counseling or anything like that, but they are spending one-on-one time with them, doing activities, giving them a safe space if there's something that they want to share, and also doing group things with the kids. Also, too, so the moms and dads have a break to attend therapy, one-on-one empowerment sessions, the group that's going on in the safe house. their kids are being taken care of and giving like an enrichment activity to
Yeah,
do.
and we're trying to make it as normalized life for them. Those kids are coming in from a very traumatic, situation as well. So our staff at those safe houses and facilities are amazing at, hey, let's go bake some cookies, not even realizing that kid really wanted to bake some cookies with that person. And then we do things special for like each holiday. Again, we reach out to some of our donors and stuff and say Easter's coming, and then they bring in Easter bags for every single kid in our site. Take care of you. Right now for Valentine's Day, we had Target donate a safe care bag for women and men with massage oils and face masks and socks and stuff. And we took them to the facility so that they had something to look forward to. Christmas time is the biggest. We have a holiday site, but our Kelly may be rough around the edges sometimes and a heart of gold, though. And so she wants everyone to have Christmas presents to open on Christmas Day or Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate. And they get a list of 10 items and they get those items. And some of those items, I'm like, oh, I want that item. I mean, it's amazing. Keurigs and Ninjas. And people donate stuff, and she delivers Christmas presents on Christmas Eve to everybody, not just our safe houses, but our housing clients and things like that. Allison's clients can sign up for stuff. We get it. So it's trying to make it as normal for the children, especially, and the parents. It's traumatic no matter what to go into a facility like that, and there's always that bad impression you're going to get from it. But trust me, they're not what you think sometimes.
And our youth advocates are so awesome and so creative. Like they did like Santa's footprints. They had reindeer food. They had
Paint a rock buddy. And
Grinch games.
Decorated a whole garden of rock buddies and planted flowers with the kids, and
Yeah, they do a lot for the kids. So my hope is someday for the mobile advocacy team, I have a youth advocate, because that is one area in which we're lacking. Because I can't, I don't have anyone to work with the kids. I can't offer like an empowerment version, to the kids, because I just don't have anyone on staff to do that. I would like to point out, though, again, 14 and older teens, if they want to do empowerment, they can absolutely sign for their own services and work with the team. And so how do you get access to all these wonderful services? The easiest way is to call our 24/7 hotline. You can encourage a client to call. You can call if they're not ready yet, but you want to maybe, again, keeping in line with confidentiality, just give us a little bit of details about their case, and we can give you some maybe more specific safety planning services for them that you can pass along to them, or they can listen in the background, putting us on speaker. Or if you're really concerned about a client that's just really gotten under your skin and you want to talk about it, that hotline's for you too. You can call and talk to us about what you're seeing, about what you're experiencing, and we're happy to lend support to you as well, because I know we need it, sometimes based on what we're seeing and maybe some frustration we're feeling. We talk to each other, so we like to offer that out to other professionals as well. Just about a whole bunch of services to you, but any questions?
And they're all over there, so you can take a pamphlet with all the information on them. Pens, there's notepads and chip clips and pencils and stuff. Everything has our logo, our name on it, our phone number, and that's stuff for you to take. So maybe if you have that down the road, someone come to you and you don't know what to do, you may have that pamphlet in your desk somewhere that you have the information.
And take a little bit of everything, because they may not be able to take the pamphlet with them, because nothing screams I'm a domestic violence survivor like carrying around DVSSP's pamphlet around. But again, you can refer to information. They can maybe read it when they're with you. But a bracelet, a pen, that's a really low-key thing for them to be able to take and to have our number with them. And if you have to get even more creative, then I encourage you to do so.
And our website's a very good resource. It does have the capability, if you hit back, it erases it from your, what's that called?
Browser.
Yes. So it erases that from there, so they don't see that. But on the website too, there's 400 and some languages you can pick. So we have clients in different counties that don't speak English isn't their first priority, and they have their first priority is being safe right now, and you can select your language and it'll translate it into that language for you, including the helpline numbers and everything like that. Yep.
So one of the things that I wanted to do with these sessions was encourage those of you that to take this information back to your agency and maybe invite them to come and talk to your staff. Have staff training. That's another thing that I really wanted to happen with these sessions, was not only to give you all the information, but to take that back and encourage you to get a staff training together, because like I said, it happens everywhere. I was hoping for HR people, again, if you know anybody in HR that you think would be empowered by this information, take the stuff and give it to them. They're more than happy to come and talk to anybody. They're not scary people.
No, sometimes. And it's funny because like that Kathy's saying that, I've been to a couple events here, and Kathy, the other Kathy from the Hilton that you saw earlier, she come up to me and said, I've never thought about this, but what do I say if someone comes into what does my staff say if someone comes into my hotel? Or they come down to the front desk, or they notice that the different signs. And I said, that's a very good point. Her staff, her frontline staff had no idea what they would do. And I worked in a hotel right out of college, and I'm like, I never thought about that, but no one's ever talked about it. So I gave her a bunch of our information, our bracelets, our pencils and stuff, just so she could have them and her staff have them. And now we have planned communication where we come and can do trainings and stuff like that. But it's that what if situation. And that's one of the questions that we get asked a lot, is how can I get involved? There's your donation drives. If you want to do something to make yourself feel good, have a donation drive. It's great. But there are volunteers. There's having these trainings with your staff, with your facility, just knowing that number you have in your Rolodex of who we are and that we offer those services in your county. And we like to hear that too. As the director of outreach, I want to know what you guys do and your connections. Give me your business card, because there have been times, I've been there a year and 2 months now, and there have been times where someone will say, do we know anybody? My staff will come and ask if we know anybody in child services in Fayette. Like, actually, and I'll pull it out, and then we've connected people to use services that you guys offer. And it's great for us because we're all in the same fields. We're all in the same boats. We're all in that nonprofit world for the most part. And so the connections are there for us as well. So if you have a business card before you leave it with me, please, because I would like to be able to promote you guys if we need your service as well, versus just coming to us,
And honestly, the clients that I've seen that have become the most successful were the ones that really utilized all the services that were available to them. And they weren't just working with us, or they weren't just going through their halfway house program, or they weren't just, in this housing, they were really taking advantage of all those services. So I think making sure that they know everything that's available to them is really key to, helping them be successful.
And there are so many services in Fayette County, Westmoreland County, Washington, Greene County that people don't know about or realize are out there. And they're shocked when I say, why don't you just call this person? What is this? You offer this? Because they're not your Allegheny County or your big counties. People assume that our counties have nothing, when we actually have more than some of those bigger counties. That's why I like working with the chamber a lot, because Kathy's very good at saying, well, did you try to reach out to this person? And I'm not from Fayette County, so I'm like, what is that? And it blows my mind that we have all these phenomenal services in our counties that no one uses because they don't know they're there. So let's communicate those with each other and help each other out.
So if you have any ideas on any kind of trainings you want to, or upcoming empowerment sessions, send me an email. I can give you my card, because I only know what I know, and I have a list, but if there's something out there that you all want to hear that may not be on my list, I'll be more than happy to set it up. So.